Good evening to you. Welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the south. In poor health, the scandal-hit ambulance service placed in special measures. So what next for patients and staff?
Simple but life-saving. A firefighter's pioneering invention in tribute to the colleagues he lost at Shirley Towers.
A leading contender for the ultimate job. Could Bournemouth's Eddie Howe be the next England manager?
And along came a spider. The autumn invasion of uninvited guests. At least 1,000 in every home. Good evening to you. Delayed ambulances are not answering 999 calls quickly enough. Just two of the reasons a scandal-hit ambulance trust in the south has been put into special measures.
A damning report into the South East Coast Ambulance Service, which covers Sussex, Surrey and North East Hampshire, also found other serious concerns, including response times not meeting national targets, patients giving up on calls for help, especially on weekends.
Not enough staff, impacting on performance and fatigue, and a culture of harassment and bullying.
So what now for the troubled trust? Andy Dickinson has our report.
One hedge.
Ben Williams' 8-year-old son Harry died from meningitis after mistakes were made by South East Coast Ambulance Service. Operators first offering the wrong advice, then placing him on hold before paramedics took almost an hour to respond.
I think what's worse about the situation is we weren't told that the ambulance had not been prioritised, and when you're waiting in that situation, you're expecting a vehicle and emergency crew to be there at your time of need.
Today, CCAM was placed in special measures after the Care Quality Commission found it was putting patients at risk. The scandal hit Trust, the worst performing nationally for answering 999 calls promptly and failing to meet response times.
Our governance processes have let the organisation down. I think the CQC report has identified where we failed our patients and also failed our staff, and I'd like to apologise for that. I'd like to assure the public that we have taken it very seriously and we have plans in place to address these issues, and we will be taking that forward.
This trust has come under increasing fire in recent months over a high-risk scheme, since abandoned to delay ambulances to patients for up to 10 minutes. It's now been ranked inadequate, with allegations of harassment and bullying of staff and morale low.
Staffing levels are still very low, and the Trust acknowledge that and are making efforts to improve those. And in turn, once those are completed, we should see an improvement in the response times for the organisation.
That this isn't just a CCAM problem, because it's a problem through the whole system. It's a problem with hospitals not being able to receive people quickly enough, and so we get sometimes ambulances queuing up outside hospitals waiting to drop patients off, and that's unsatisfactory for everyone.
We're running around in vehicles, some of them up to 10 years old, with over 400,000 miles on the clock. It's progressively getting worse. We've got to see it progressively get better. Funding is part of that. There's no getting away from it. If you don't spend enough publicly, you will not get the service that our patients and our staff deserve. So it's money plus commitment, and that's what we want from the government.
Management of CCAM has already been replaced and staff praised for their care and dedication. An improvement director will now be appointed, but for Mr Williams, any changes will be far too late. Andy Dickinson, ITV News.
In other news, a pedestrian in his 30s is still in a critical condition after falling from a bridge in Basingstoke and onto a road below. He fell onto the A340 Ringway West yesterday morning after a collision between two cars, a red Vauxhall Astra and a silver Vauxhall Vectra. The drivers weren't hurt.
English Heritage, who look after Bramber Castle in Sussex, say vandals are causing irreparable damage to the Norman walls. The remains of the castle overlook the River Adur near Stenning. It was built by William the Conqueror and is nearly 1,000 years old. The one surviving wall of the tower, standing 14 metres high, has been targeted by vandals stealing flint and ragstone.
Residents have been rescued from a fire at a block of flats in Southsea. It broke out at around 4 o'clock this morning on the 13th floor of Handsworth House in Somerstown. Around 60 firefighters fought the flames, with 5 firefighters treated for heat exhaustion. 2 residents were taken to hospital after breathing in smoke.
A life-saving invention designed by a firefighter from Fareham is being rolled out to all Royal Navy ships and to fire services around the world.
Crew manager Pete Broomfield was at the scene of the fatal Shirley Towers blaze in Southampton 6.5 years ago and witnessed the deaths of 2 colleagues.
Well, experts say Pete's simple design will prevent other tragedies, as Kerry Swain now reports.
Basically, as you see, before this strap here, there was nothing there, so this was just been a gap between the back plate and the cylinder. So this was plenty of room for fallen cables just to come straight down here, get stuck.
Stuck like this. In 2005, 2 firefighters in Hertfordshire died trapped in fallen cables. James Shears and Alan Bannon were both entangled in cables when they were found overcome by excessive heat in the Shirley Towers fire in Southampton in 2010. Their deaths the trigger for Pete Broomfield's simple but life-saving invention. He trained with Jim Shears, was at Shirley Towers the night he and Alan Bannon died.
Well, I went in really late on. Everything, all the bad stuff had already happened. The fire was already out, so I was one of the last teams in there. But it was just really hot and it was just really difficult to move around. All electrics everywhere and melted conduits and everything. So it was quite clear to me that this was a proper problem there.
You actually got trapped by cables yourself?
Yeah, but it was easy for me because there was no fire, there's no smoke cleft. So I had a BA partner with me. We just freed each other and moved on. But it occurred to me, if the temperatures are like 500 plus degrees, all you're going to want to do is get out of there as quick as possible.
The anti-tangle strap is being used by firefighters across the country by the defence contractor BAE and is now being adopted by the Royal Navy.
Cables don't come down with a lot of weight, but once they're in and you're moving this way, you're going to get stuck. I've sent prototypes of these myself to Canada, America and New Zealand as well. So I know that it's been looked at elsewhere in other countries. A shame, obviously, it had to be designed, because if those 4 people didn't die, then this would have been needed, but it's nice that something positive's come out of it.
Pete's device is currently separate and removable. His aim is to have it fitted on breathing apparatus kits when they're manufactured, standard protection for the men and women who risk their own lives to save others. Kerry Swain, ITV News.
More headlines now. Ministers are ignoring safety concerns about so-called smart motorways, according to a group of MPs. Work is currently underway to convert 13 miles of the hard shoulder on the M3 in Hampshire and Surrey into an extra traffic lane. But the Commons Transport Select Committee has raised safety concerns over cars stopping in live lanes.
People living near Woodingdean in Brighton say they're angry that planning permission was given for a telecommunications mast on the wrong site. The 12.5 metre structure was due to go up on Warren Road in front of historic cottages when the mistake was discovered. The local councillor has denounced the city's planning department as incompetent and clumsy.
A sculptor from Brighton has become the latest artist to have his work displayed on Trafalgar Square's 4th plinth. The giant thumbs up, entitled Really Good, is the work of David Shrigley. He hopes the 7-metre digit will transform things traditionally thought of as bad, things such as the economy and the weather. He's previously directed films and was nominated for the Turner Prize 3 years ago.
Really good. You're watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. Thanks as always for choosing us. Coming up, the weather forecast with Lucy Verasamy. Plus,
you'll love this. It's that time of year again, the autumn invasion of creepy crawlies and what you can do if you're scared of them.
For more on all of our stories, head to itv.com/Meridian. Any views or news, give us a call, please. 0808 1010 095 is the number to ring. Or get in touch via Facebook or send us a tweet at ITV Meridian.
Heathrow Airport has revealed how it can expand and add extra flights ahead of a long-awaited government decision on expansion.
Yeah, bosses say the plan could create 5,000 new jobs by 2021. There'll be 25,000 extra flights a year with 4 million more passengers.
A new night flight ban would see no scheduled services between 11 p.m. and 5:30 a.m, an hour later than now.
There'll be up to £60 million for noise reduction, and controversially there could be a charge for vehicles entering the airport to cut emissions and raise money for better public transport.
Well, there's been mixed reaction to the news, as our transport correspondent Mike Pearce now explains.
More flights, passengers and jobs within 5 years. That's the benefit Heathrow say will come ahead of a third runway, but only if the £17 billion scheme gets the go-ahead. Critics will say this is all about trying to twist Theresa May's arm as she considers finally if it's Heathrow or Gatwick.
Now, what we have done is listen to local residents, politicians and businesses, and are responding to the changed circumstances that Brexit means. And what we are doing with these proposals today is suggesting to government there is a clear plan for delivering the benefits of Heathrow expansion for both businesses, for local people, earlier than with the third runway.
I think Heathrow relies that Gatwick can be delivered quicker and more cheaply, and unless they come up with a plan like this, it will lessen their chances of getting a third runway at Heathrow.
A ban on flights before 5:30 in the morning will be welcomed, along with more noise insulation. Controversial for many will be a so-called emissions charge for cars and taxis who enter the airport. ITV News understands it could be a drop-off charge, more expensive parking, or an electronic scheme like in London. It will help cut emissions and pay for better and greener public transport.
It's robbery, to be honest with you. It's terrible.
Good thing. Yeah, good thing.
It's good if they improve, but I don't think they are going to do it so soon.
We will consult on the exact terms of it and look for exemptions for people who have mobility difficulties or other reasons why they have to drive to the airport. But what we do need to do as a society, not just Heathrow, is to encourage the move away from our reliance on diesel engines to other more sustainable forms of transport.
This data company in Buckinghamshire sent many of its 60 workers on flights to do business. They say with Brexit, the airport must be able to expand and back today's announcement.
It'll enable us to get to our customers more easily, to sell more and to help them better. And generally for jobs in the area, I think it'll be fabulous because more flights will mean more opportunities.
Of course, all of this is dependent on Heathrow getting its third runway. These measures will only be implemented if that's the case. We now expect a final decision from the government towards the end of October. Mike Pearce, ITV News, Heathrow.
It is just gone 13 minutes past 6, and the ITV Evening News continues with the national and the international news at 6:30. A preview now to London. Mark Austin.
Tonight, an exclusive report on the drugs gangs exploiting thousands of vulnerable children.
You could be hurt or killed or anything.
Children as young as 9 are being groomed and made to carry drugs across the country. Also, dozens of casualties in a train crash in New Jersey. And the royal couple make one fan's lifetime dream come true in Canada. Join Charlene White and me at 6:30.
Well, it's hard to imagine anyone would be cruel enough to take advantage of the elderly and steal their money.
Sadly, though, fraudsters are committing scams every 15 seconds, and they're using new techniques to trick people into handing over their personal details.
Yes, sadly, online, phone, banking, debit and credit card fraud have increased by more than 50% in a year.
A quarter of those who've fallen victim in the south said the main reason was because the fraudster was extremely convincing.
And almost half of people said they shared their personal details because they felt pressured.
So is your family at risk? That's the question being asked in ITV's Tonight programme. Here's Kevin Ashford with more.
This man, who we're referring to only as Chris, is a retired former chemist living in Sussex. He had his first phone call offering investment opportunities 8 years ago.
I was phoned up and told of the wonderful chances of buying a piece of land which was likely to have a housing estate built on it as soon as permission would be granted. The value of the land would increase. So from that I was persuaded to buy a plot of land in Suffolk for £10,000.
He invested a further £42,000, but a fraud investigation found it was a scam. There was no land, and Chris lost the lot. His name was now on what scammers refer to as a suckers list. He was being cold called on a near daily basis by supposed brokers, all after his cash.
You must have been getting increasingly concerned that you were putting all this money in.
I was concerned now, only was trying to get it back, even if at a loss. And it was very stressful indeed. Sleepless nights, a lot of anxiety and worry.
And how much money are we talking about?
Well, my total losses of everything must be upwards of £450,000.
It seems elderly victims like Chris are increasingly the target for criminals. This group of friends have plenty of tales of financial cons, tricks and scams, all out to snare them.
I get nuisance calls or scam calls about half a dozen times a week.
I've been told I've won prizes of various large amounts of money, but always they want you to send the bank details, so they say they can put it into your bank.
Elder abuse is one of those absolutely unreported, hidden crimes. It is the new front line in policing. It's now happening in people's front rooms rather than on the streets.
£1.2 billion is lost each year to investment fraud in the UK, with those over the age of 65 more likely to be victims. A group of the country's top banks and financial services have just begun a campaign to raise awareness about this often hidden crime wave. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
And you can see tonight, fraud is your family at risk here on ITV at 7:30 this evening.
Now, a group of young people have been taking another step on their road to independence. Having a fear of flying is not unusual, but for these students, taking to the air was an even greater challenge.
Yes, LVS School Oxford supports young people on the autism spectrum, so the nerves were jangling, the tension was high when the youngsters prepared for takeoff. Our own Penny Sylvester was there.
If you bring all your kit, guys, everything you're going to need for today.
Students arriving at London Oxford Airport were understandably anxious. These pupils from LV School in Oxford have been diagnosed on the autism spectrum.
Mobile phones, use them for photographs, but put them on airplane mode.
The school's therapy team have been supporting students in the run-up to this day, helping them conquer fears and anxieties, giving them the confidence to fly.
It's a very slow process, but they have to build up to feeling confident communicating in the school, and then we build that up so that they can go into different situations in the community and be able to interact with other people that they don't know so well, and to kind of do some team building exercises to get them more familiar interacting with their peers as well.
For these youngsters, this was a major step. The school's focus is to help students on the path to independent living, and that means confronting situations they might experience as they get older. The charity Fly to Help says the flying day was set up for these pupils to encourage them to leave their worries on the ground.
It was an extremely terrifying experience and amazing at the same time.
It was really incredible, like the views were just stunning.
It was really cool, and you get to see out the window and all the view, and yeah.
And the happy faces said it all. Penny Sylvester, ITV News, Oxford.
Well, 2 years ago, he ran the equivalent of 2 marathons a day for 3 weeks, running over 1,000 miles to all 20 Premier League stadiums to raise money for charity. But former Southampton footballer Francis Benali isn't going to stop there.
Yes, despite the fact he was left in tears at times, the Saints legend is taking on another challenge for Cancer Research UK. This time he'll run and cycle to every Premier League and Championship ground in just 2 weeks.
But he's managed to take a short break from training to join us here in the studio. Franny, welcome to you.
Thank you.
Your last challenge was physically and mentally very challenging indeed. It almost killed you and had you in tears. Why do it again?
Good question, Fred. It's something that a lot of people have asked me. We set a huge fundraising target the first time round, and the generosity of everybody was incredible. Managed to raise £265,000 from the first one, but we had a target of £1 million, so I want to try and reach that, and hence doing a second challenge.
You look very fit, if I may say so. How have you been training?
Training's been going on for a long time now. Months and months of training and preparation has gone into this. The logistics is a whole animal in its own self, but I've been putting the miles in, getting the distance in my legs, both on the bike and running. But I'm ready now. I just want to get started. A few little nerves, but I'm excited about starting.
But even as a former sportsman, has it been difficult?
Yeah, it's tough. I think what's made it even more difficult this time round is that I've got some knowledge and experience of the first challenge and how difficult that was, and the mental barriers and the physical pain that lies ahead. So from that perspective, I know what lies ahead, which makes it a little bit harder. And there feels that little bit of pressure knowing that there's a load of support and so much work's gone into this challenge that I don't want to sort of spoil my part and not complete it. So I'm determined to try and drive through any difficult times.
You're raising money for Cancer Research UK. Is it a charity that's close to your heart? It
is, yeah. It's something that's touched our family like it has done most. Even since the last challenge finished 2 years ago, my father-in-law has been diagnosed with prostate cancer and has undergone treatment. We've lost 2 close friends of the family to cancer, and there's a very close family friend who's undergoing chemo and her own battle against cancer as we speak. So I very much feel that there's more money to be raised in trying to help the scientists and researchers find a cure to this awful disease.
Very briefly, good support from the footballing world?
Incredible, yeah. There's loads of support. The clubs have been great. There's going to be some familiar faces, ex-teammates turning out as well. So hopefully there'll be a few recognisable faces.
Starts on Sunday morning, AFC Bournemouth. You're hoping to finish at your former club, of course, St Mary's, on the 16th of October. We wish you all the very best. We shall follow your progress all the way. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.
Good luck. Sports news now, and AFC Bournemouth manager Eddie Howe says he's not interested in the England job. The 38-year-old is one of the bookmakers' favourites to take over from Sam Allardyce and has admitted to being flattered by people recommending him. But Howe says at this stage of his career he wouldn't consider leaving the Cherries.
Well, I think I've said in many interviews the England job I think is the ultimate job, but I've signed players very recently here, pledged a future to them, the season, how it's going to unfold, and I can't turn my back on. It's all hypothetical, of course, but I couldn't turn my back on this club and the people that employ me, the loyalty they've shown me. I need to show in return.
Meanwhile, Southampton are in Europa Cup action at this very moment. Their game at Hapoel Beersheva in Israel kicked off at 6 o'clock. This is the first time the club have been in the group stages of the competition. Saints missed a great chance to take the lead after just 3 minutes. There are now 25 minutes gone. It's currently Hapoel 0, Southampton 0.
On to Speedway, and there was disappointment for the Poole Pirates last night. They missed out on their 7th consecutive Elite League final after losing at Wolverhampton. They took a 12-point lead into the second leg of this semi-final, but a poor start saw them end the night 8 points behind and sadly out.
World famous actors have been filming here on the south coast for the new Transformers movie. The Royal Navy Submarine Museum in Gosport has been turned into a Hollywood film set with Sir Anthony Hopkins and Mark Wahlberg seen on location. They even spent time taking selfies with fans. Top-class sports cars have also been on the set. Filming for Transformers The Last Night took place in the centre of Oxford last week and is set for release in cinemas next summer.
Now here's something you would definitely not want a selfie with. Not you, Fred.
No, not me.
That thing behind you.
Oh,
it's that time of the year again which so many of you dread. You come home, put your feet up, and then you spot one of those 8-legged creatures.
Oh dear. It can seem as if our homes have been invaded by spiders. It's their mating season, so the males are busy looking for females.
Well, the problem with these house guests is that they don't wait for an invitation. As you know, they come in whether we like it or not. Here's Lauren Hall.
There's something about them. The way they look, the way they move, and all those legs.
Now, many of us admit to being scared of spiders, and if that includes you, well, you better prepare yourself. We're getting towards spider season, which is the time of year where we start to notice more of them in our homes. Now, don't worry, you're unlikely to come across one of these, but we're all familiar with its smaller relatives, and over the next few weeks, you'll be seeing quite a few of them.
Paul Hetherington from the Bug Life charity says spiders make great house guests.
So let's go into the house and see what we can find in the way of spiders.
The average house has at least 1,000 of them. We don't see them for most of the year, but it's now mating season and they start appearing all over the place.
So let's go into the lounge and have a look at some of the likely hiding places. The bookshelf behind the books, the lamp, the plant, and even underneath the sofa. Into the bathroom we go, and in the bathroom is the bath. They get stuck in there because the edges are too slippery to get back out again. And of course, most of the spiders in our house we don't actually see because they're in places such as here, the attic.
These tenants won't pay rent, but they do contribute in other ways.
Spiders are really useful. I mean, they eat up lots of other things which are much more damaging to us. Things like flies, which spread all kinds of germs and diseases. So they're really good at policing the place and keeping them under control.
Even so, their presence leaves some people feeling terrorised in their own homes.
None of you would voluntarily choose to feel how you do when you see a spider.
There are courses like this one, the Spider Courage Experience, to help those with arachnophobia.
If you come across a spider at home, what's your reaction?
You sort of go like that. Yeah, okay.
I get cold sweats, the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, and I get the urge to escape.
I'm just not good in a room because there's one in there which is just silly and I just want to get over it.
The course uses hypnotherapy and other techniques to help people see spiders in a different way.
Last week we had a woman who couldn't even say the word spider, wasn't she?
She couldn't say the word spider, she hadn't gone outside for more than 2 years, and within just over 3 hours she was holding a spider, she had let it run over her hand. And I think the key thing I'd say is that people don't have to live with phobias.
This lot have also faced their fears, getting close to spiders and learning how to catch them humanely. Yeah. All good practice for what might be awaiting them back at home. Lauren Hall, ITV News.
Well, we've been asking how you've been coping with the influx of spiders on our Facebook page.
Amanda Madderford from Salisbury says, I'm not scared of spiders. My kids don't mind them either. We have them in my house and we actually name them.
Stupid. Lana Brown told us she puts conkers around the house and hasn't had a single one since.
Amanda, Fred doesn't mean it. Now, look away if you're not a fan of these eight-legged creatures.
Andy Taylor says, I was thinking of moving out when this one moved in.
Don't blame her.
Meanwhile, Debs Lou says, found this casually sitting in one of my glasses.
And Ben Glover from Whiteley sent us this, found hanging in his work trousers just before he put them on this morning.
Got to give him a very nasty shock. Rich Yoel says, I just asked them to clean their feet before they wander around our house. Thank you all very much for your comments. You don't like them, do you?
No.
But they do good things.
Well, they might do.
They eat flies, as
I
we
don't
heard.
care.
All right, lovely weather for spiders or not. Let's find out now with Incy Wincy Lucy Verisami.
From blizzards to pool, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Hello to you again. A very good evening. Well, it's set to feel a little more like autumn in the coming few days as we topple our way into a new month. Temperatures set to slide a few degrees, so much cooler with blustery winds, and there will be some wet weather, but also some lovely sunshine, so it's not all bad. We've seen really quite breezy conditions out there today. The sunshine in short supply with the cloud cover. Into the weekend, as we drift into a new month, well, this system poised to work its way in. Quite breezy and wet through Saturday before things improve on Sunday. Clearer skies and sunshine set to return by then. In the meantime, quite a blustery end to the day out there. The brisk breeze will prevent any mist, fog and frost forming tonight, but temperatures will slide a few degrees. So a little bit chilly first thing tomorrow morning for those out in the sticks first thing, and we will see some early morning sunshine, but a fair few blustery showers could well be brought in, and some of these could turn out to be heavier, longer downpours. In between the downpours, spells of sunshine, patches of blue sky. The winds will start to ease, but a little on the cool side. See you soon.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
And that's how we look this Thursday evening. In just a moment, we've got the ITV News with Mark Austin and Charlene White.
Rachel Hepbur's got our late news. Join her if you can. For now, though, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thanks for watching. From Sangeeta and me, take care.
See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.